What's up, guys? We're here to go over UFC on ABC. Rozenstruik versus Almeida. It's taking place in Charlotte, North Carolina. And we're coming off of UFC Vegas, what was it, 72? Song versus Simone. So my big play on the card, 3-unit play on Martin Bidet hit. I know a couple of you guys listened to me on that one. Y'all had said something about it in the comments, that y'all made some money on that. I felt ashamed that I put money on Martin Bidet because he looked like crap. At least Jake Collier came out and put a beating on him in the first round. I mean, they both looked really horrible, and I was kind of embarrassed that I even put money on him. And the only other bet I had on that card other than that was just a tiny, like, $50 bet on Michael Oleksiejczuk to win by knockout. And that didn't hit. It was just a little play, no big deal. And as far as picks went on that card, dude, I mean, I think I might have picked 4 fights right on that whole card, so it was pretty embarrassing. I don't ever watch anybody else's videos or pick videos or prediction videos or anything until after I've done mine, and I usually do mine before everybody else. I know this one's coming out a little bit later than usual. But I don't ever want to be influenced by what anybody else is saying or anything. That's why I don't, I do like to watch other shows. I don't do it until after I do mine. But I did check out some other people's shows after Saturday night, and a lot of people didn't have very good, picks or whatever on theirs either. So I don't feel too bad about it there, but it is shitty to sit there and do all this work. You work your regular job, 50 hours a week, come home, watch fights, do all this studying, and then pick almost the entire card wrong. So, but at least the big bet hit, so at least I had that. And yeah, so please like and subscribe. And for people that's new to the channel, what I do is I go over and give my prediction for each fight, and then at the end of the video, I give out my bets for the card. My Instagram is highkick_fight picks. If you want to go, if you don't want to watch the video and just want to see my picks and bets, you can see them on there. Any bets that I add to the card will be on my Instagram as well. I do have a Twitter, but I keep forgetting to use it and that I even have it. So eventually I'll get on top of that. And the show's available on iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube, Rumble, all that. So if y'all don't like watching the videos, you can go check it out there. And so I got a contest going on my UFC 288 video, and I'm trying to give away, a free autographed, signed UFC fighter, prints that I have. And I think only one person's commented on it and tried to, participate in the contest. I'm kind of shocked that not more people are really interested in doing that. Maybe I should come up with something else to get you guys going or whatever. But I thought that'd be cool. But I guess if nobody's into it, whatever. But we won't know the winner of that contest until my next video. So that's when I'll say who the winner is, if anybody wins or if anybody else even participates or whatever. So. And what else? I guess that's it. So let's get into the card, man. First up, we got Natan Levy taking on Pete Rodriguez. Natan Levy is 31 years old. He's 5'9" with a 72-inch reach. He is 8-1 and 2-1 in the UFC. And I already went over this fight on my one of my other videos. I had a play on Natan Levy on that card. Well, it was a parlay that he was mixed in. And I'll probably end up adding something on him here too. I don't know. It just depends on what the line looks like. I haven't really thought about it yet. I haven't got back around to it. But yeah, he's 8-1, 2-1 in the UFC. And Levy's looked better each time we've seen him. He has kind of like a karate background. He's a pretty good striker. He's a good counter fighter. His grappling's been looking better as well. And he beat a really tough guy with a lot of power his last time out. I think it was Geraldo Valdez. Yeah, Valdez. Um, he has nice kicks, especially his left high kick. He's very fast with them. There's no wind up or anything. He showed good power in that fight. He dropped Valdez a few times, and I expect this fight to be a lot like the Valdez fight. A brawler getting outpointed by the more technical striker in Levy. And he's taking on Pete Rodriguez. He is 26 years old, 5'9", with a 73-inch reach. He is 5-1 and 1-1 in the UFC. Pete destroyed Mike Jackson in his last fight, but Mike doesn't really belong in the UFC. And like I said before, I don't really say that often about anybody, or really about anybody else on the roster. Pete has really good power, very, very powerful. He's very wild, but I think he jumped into the UFC just a little too fast. But really, not so much that as they haven't done him any favors. They put him against Jack Della Maddalena. Guys that are on good runs and everything, and he's not getting a lot of easy fights other than Mike Jackson. So, Pete's gonna have a puncher's chance in this fight. He's always live for a knockout with his power, but I think Levy will win this fight, and maybe he catches him with one of those quick kicks. I'm gonna say Denton Levy by a knockout in the second round. Next up, we got Carl Williams taking on Chase Sherman. And Carl's one of the locks on this card, I feel. He's 33 years old, 6'3", with a 79-inch reach. He's 8-1 and 1-0 in the UFC. Like I say, he's a lock on this card, I feel. The line's a little high on him. I mean, I got him at a little bit better of a price than what he's at right now. I think he's at like a minus 400 right now. But he's a very good wrestler, very explosive. He has big power in his hands. He gets a lot of takedowns in his fight. So, if you're a prize picks better, you can usually freaking, get your thing on there. Like I said, I want them to pay me before I start giving out my prize picks bets every week. But I was very impressed with him being able to get the takedowns in his last fight, even though he was absolutely gassed in the third round. I don't have a problem saying he's one of the better wrestlers that we have at heavyweight right now. He was throwing Bresky around like a rag doll in that fight. And I wonder if he'll ever go back down to light heavyweight. I think he would look really good at light heavyweight, or if it's just too much of a weight cut for him. But yeah, he really drives right through guys on those takedowns. And he also lifts the single leg up, and then he puts his inside leg around the backside of the other leg and trips guys. So that's what he kept getting that guy with in his last fight, Bresky. I mean, he just couldn't pick up on what he was doing. He just kept getting that takedown over and over. And I expect him to do just that in this fight. Yeah, Chase Sherman traditionally doesn't have very good takedown defense, so he's taking on Chase Sherman. He is 33 years old, 6'4", with a 78-inch reach. Carl's going to have a 1-inch reach advantage. He is 16-11 and 4-10 in the UFC. Yeah, so Chase has had a few fights fall out. You really got to give him credit. He'll take a fight against anybody. Even if he doesn't have good takedown defense or it's a bad matchup for him, he doesn't care. He just he takes the fight anyway. So not a lot I can say for Chase here. He may be a better striker than Williams, but that's not going to matter when Williams has him down. And is controlling him. From the ground. So I'm gonna be taking Williams to win this fight by decision, or maybe he wins by late ground and pound. But I think Williams, like I said, is definitely a lock on this card. As far as what you can do with it at that price, you have to kind of make it work. But next up, we got Gabe Green taking on Brian Battle. Gabe Green is 30 years old, 5'10", with a 73-inch reach. He's 11-4 and 2-2 in the UFC. So I think Gabe is kind of an underrated, guy. His losses have been to really good fighters: Daniel Rodriguez, Ian Gary. He's well-rounded. He has really good cardio. He's pretty fast with his hands. Good submission defense. Never been submitted. He has 6 submission wins on his record. He throws real hard to the body. He has pretty good takedowns, even though he doesn't use them enough. He really stepped up his leg kicks in the Gary fight. Even though it was a loss, I did see some improvements in his game in that fight. He pushes a really tough pace. He constantly moves forward, and he does need to work on his head movement a little bit. But, Gary's a sniper. Gary's a very good guy, very, very talented fighter. So, I mean, I can't hold that loss against him too much. He's taking on Brian Battle. He's 28 years old, 6'1", with a 77-inch reach. He is 8-2 and 3-1 in the UFC. So I think Brian's got a lot of potential, but his wins in the UFC just, haven't been a bit against the best competition. He's beaten guys with, not a lot of experience. Two guys off the Ultimate Fighter show and Takashi Santo, who, I don't consider to be super high level, competition. He has fast, powerful kicks, good boxing, pretty good submissions. He will attack subs off his back constantly. He's pretty dangerous off of his back. And, in his last fight, we found out his takedown defense isn't very good. But to be fair, his opponent was a really talented grappler as well. So, it may not be as bad as it seems. But that was really the first time we've seen somebody really pushing the takedowns on him. So, I think he just showed kind of a few signs of just a little bit of an experience. He's early on in his career. I think he's going to improve a lot. He wasn't able to make the reads. He kept getting got with the same takedown. Battle's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage in this fight. So I think this fight could go either way. I think the value is on Green. I'm sure he's going to be an underdog. So, I'm going to go ahead and take a chance on Green in this spot, and I'm going to pick him as the underdog. If he's smart, he'll mix in the takedowns, and I think Green will get the win by decision. Next up, we got Carlos Oldberg taking on Ihor Poteria. Big fan of Carlos's. Carlos is 32 years old, 6'4", with a 77-inch reach. He is 7-1 and 3-1 in the UFC. Carlos is a really good kickboxer. Trains at City Kickboxing with Izzy and all those guys. Everybody had counted him out after his debut. He came out and he beat the shit out of Kennedy Nchekwu, hit him with everything he had and gassed himself out, and then ended up getting knocked out in the second round. But he seems to have learned from his mistake. He's won his last 3, 2 by knockout, and he's looked better each time, we've seen him. He's a pretty big guy. He's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage here in this spot. He throws hard calf kicks, good push kicks to the liver. He has really good head movement. He's hard to hit. Very fast jab that he will double up at times. And what else? That's what he caught. How do you say his name? What was his last fight? Nigga Mariano. He caught him with that. He popped him with a jab and then came right back with a check left hook. And, he took almost no damage in that fight. He's very technical. He's a great counter striker, and he will definitely have the striking advantage in this fight. He's taking on Ihor Poteria. He is 26 years old, 6'3", with a 75-inch reach. He's 19-3 and 1-1 in the UFC. So this guy's a wild guy, man. He thrives in like brawls and just crazy fights. He has a good-looking record until you really look into it. Most of his wins are against guys with little to no experience or really bad records. He has good kicks. He'll beat up the inside and outside of the legs, those leg kicks. He's very aggressive and explosive. He struggles with the grappling and the takedown defense. I don't think he's going to have to worry about that in this fight, though. His last fight was a win over Shogun Rua with his, in Shogun's retirement fight. And, honestly, Shogun was catching him with some really good shots in that fight. I actually think I had a play on Poteria in that spot, and I was kind of sweating it because he was getting popped with some good shots in that spot. He always has a shot. He hits really hard. But I see Carlos being the better striker here, which is where this fight's going to be taking place. So I'm going to be taking Oldberg to get the win in round 1 by KO. I think that's a lock on this card too, honestly. Next up, we got Cody Stamann taking on Douglas Silva de Andrade. And Cody Stamann is 33 years old. He's 5'6" with a 64.5-inch reach. He is 21, 5-1, and 7-4-1 in the UFC. And Cody's a very talented guy. He has a wrestling background. I'm pretty sure this fight's going to be really exciting. This is a possible fight of the night. Other than Dober and Frivola probably, but he showed a lot better footwork and head movement in his last fight. He's got really fast punches. He hits real hard, good combinations, goes to the body with his punches a lot. He puts out a good number of strikes, on strikes thrown and landed, a pretty good amount of volume. He has great cardio. The only thing I could say bad is that his last 2 fights were, pretty easy layups for him. He fought a retiring fighter and then a debuting fighter. So, and this is going to be a much tougher fight for him, I believe. And if he's smart, he will use that wrestling. The first few rounds of this fight, but he doesn't really like to wrestle. So that's one thing about him that. I mean, he tries to avoid the wrestling. He likes to strike. He likes exciting fights. So that could hurt him in this spot. He's going to be taking on Douglas Silva de Andrade. He is 37 years old, 5'7", with a 68.5-inch reach. He is 28-5 and 6-5 in the UFC. And this guy's a freaking warrior. I mean, I'm a big fan of his. He's only lost to some of the best guys in the division. He's very powerful, explosive. He can take a beating and come back. Like he did in the Morozov fight, and even in his last fight with Said Nurmagomedov. He won that third round. And if that was a 5-round fight, he probably would have won that fight because Said was gassed out. And he's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage in this fight. And I know he's 37, but he's built like a tank. He's in really good shape. And, as a matter of fact, if you haven't seen the Morozov fight, just stop right now, go back and watch it, and you'll understand why I'm such a big fan of this guy's. He has really good Muay Thai, very hard leg kicks. He will be at a grappling disadvantage in this fight probably. But like I said, Cody prefers to strike, so, we don't know if he's even going to try and use his wrestling. And Dern will have the power advantage. Silva is definitely a live underdog, on paper and whatnot. Sterman should win, but I'm gonna pick Andrade to get the win, and maybe by knockout, maybe like a late third round knockout. Let's go with that. Next up, we got Ji Young Kim taking on Mandy Bohm, and this is one of those that it kind of bugs me because I could totally see you got a fighter that's lost her last 4 fights in Kim that actually looked pretty good in those performances, and probably should have won the Cachoeira fight, and so you're kind of high on her, and then you got a girl that hasn't won a fight in the UFC yet. And this is one of those where everybody's going to ride with the experience and Kim, and then Bohm's going to come in and get the win. So anyway, 33 years. Kim is 33 years old, 5'7" with a 72-inch reach. She is 9-6-2 and 3-6 in the UFC. On a bit of a rough run right now. She might have got robbed on a few of those, and some of those fights were against pretty good competition. If you look at them, Alexa Grasso, she's the champ now. Molly McCann, she's pretty tough. Priscilla Cachoeira and Jocelyn Edwards, that was a split. That could have been her win too. She could have won the Cachoeira and the Edwards fight. Honestly, they were pretty close, and a lot of people thought she won the Cachoeira fight for sure. Kim has fought the way better competition between these two. She has technical striking, not a lot of power, good kicks, decent takedown defense. She's a better fighter, I think, all around, and will have a 1-inch reach advantage. And she's also coming back down from 135, so that's another thing to worry about. If you're crazy enough to put money on this fight, she's dropping back down to 125. So, if she does look like crap, that could play a factor in that. And she's going to be taking on Mandy Bohm. She is 33 years old, 5'7", with a 71-inch reach. She is 7-2 and 0-2 in the UFC. And she has pretty good kickboxing, good push kicks. She has good knees in the clinch. Struggles quite a bit with the grappling and the takedown defense. She throws good elbows. She's basically known as a German kickboxer. And if this were just a striking affair, I would think it could be kind of close. But I think Kim has the option to take the fight to the ground if she needs to and control her with that. And I'm thinking she's probably better everywhere. I'm going to take Kim to win by decision, but it's women's MMA, so it'll probably be wrong. Whatever, how that goes, but. Next up, we got Matt Brown taking on Court McGee. 2 legends. So Matt Brown is 42 years old, 6 foot tall with a 76-inch reach. He is 23-19 and 16-13 in the UFC. So, Matt's a legend. He's one of the most exciting fighters to ever compete. This is going to be his 30th fight in the UFC. So, his better days are behind him, but they've been giving him winnable fights, against, other veterans and guys who have been around a while. So, he's been able to get some wins here and there. They're not not putting him up against, these killers like they did McGee when they put him against Jeremiah Wells. But um, so, I thought he was going to be out of there a while back, and then, he got that big knockout of Diego Lima, which is pretty impressive. In his last fight, it was a close fight with Brian Barberena. It could have gone either way. A lot of people were really mad that Barberena got the decision. He has really good Muay Thai, uses his elbows and kicks really well. Not as fast as he used to be, but, he is really well-rounded and very experienced. He fights pretty smart. Cardio has slowed down a little bit too, and later into his career. But he's always live for a knockout. He has 13 wins by knockout on his record. He throws really hard calf kicks. He has a very heavy right hand. Don't think he's ever going to lose that, that heavy right hand, no matter how old he gets. He's got very good foot sweeps. He's going to have a half-inch reach advantage here as well, and he still has a hell of a chin. So, he's always got a good chance. This is a fight that probably go either way. He's taking on Court McGee. He is 38 years old, 5'11", with a 75.5-inch reach. He's 21-11 and 10-10 in the UFC. Like I said, Court's another guy. He's been around a long time. His strong suit is his wrestling, in my opinion. He has really good cardio, good takedowns. He's coming off of a bad knockout loss to Jeremiah Wells, but I don't hold that against him. Wells is very powerful, and he's on a run right now. Court's never been submitted. He has a very good jab. He's fought a lot of really tough guys, man. If we look at his record, let's check out some of these fights he's had. So as far as recently, was it Claudio Silva that just passed away, man? I was sad to hear that. Where's my phone at? I want to make sure that's who it was. Or was it Felipe Corrales? I think maybe it was Felipe Corrales that passed away, and he was like 20-something years old. He's fought Carlos Condit, Sean Brady, Diego Lima, Sean Strickland, Ben Saunders, Santiago Ponzinibbio, Robert Whitaker. Fought a lot of really tough guys, man. So he'll need to use his wrestling in this fight, in my opinion. He has a really good uppercut. He goes to the body with his punches a lot. He's very experienced. He fights very smart as well. Everyone on Tapology is going with Brown, and I want Brown to win this fight, but as of right now, McGee is a 180 favorite, which makes me want to pick Brown. I was hoping that Brown would be the favorite so I could get McGee at a dog price. And I'm gonna pick McGee to get the win. I wouldn't be surprised if Brown gets a knockout though, but I think McGee could use his wrestling in this fight to get the win. Control Brown on the ground, get the takedowns. I'm gonna take the guy with the wrestling advantage, man. I do think this fight could go either way though. Next up, we got Jessica Rose Clark taking on Tanara Lesboa. That's a funny sounding last name, Lesboa. Clark is 35 years old, 5'11" with a 67-inch reach. She is 11-8 and 4-4 in the UFC. So Clark is hot and she has face tattoos. She'll have a 1-inch reach advantage. She has a pretty good striking. Fights well in the clinch. She can get girls down that aren't up to par with their takedown defense. She seems pretty strong. She's a former power lifter. I would say her weaknesses are her submission awareness and defense. She lost her last 2 fights by armbar in the first round. I'm a fan of Clark's, but this may be one of those situations where, everybody on Tapology is going with Clark. She'll probably be the favorite. And I think it's just because nobody knows anything about her opponent, and this is going to be her opponent's first fight in the UFC. So this fight could really go either way, I feel. She's taking on Tanara Lesboa. She is 32 years old, 5'6", with a 66-inch reach. She is 5-2, and this is going to be her UFC debut. All of her wins have been by finish. She has a Muay Thai background. She apparently fought Valentina Shevchenko in a Muay Thai match back in 2010 and lost by decision. Obviously she's a good striker. She's very powerful. She was going to have the striking advantage in this spot. She has a few wins by submission as well, so maybe she's not just, a very one-dimensional fighter, like you would think. She's been out a year, and I can only assume that she's been training really hard for a fight in the UFC. And because I feel like this fight could go either way, and I'm not certain that, that Lesboa is the underdog, but I think she will be, so I'm going to be taking her to get the win. So I really feel like this is a 50-50 fight. This should be like a pick 'em. And if you're going to be betting on this fight, take the plus money on the dog. Next up, we got Tim Means taking on Alex Morono. Excuse me. Tim Means is 39 years old. He's 6'2" with a 75-inch reach. He is 32-14-1 and 14-11-1 in the UFC. So, yeah, Tim's been around a long time, man. He's very well-rounded. He's got 19 wins by knockout on his record. He's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage in this fight. He had a good fight with Max Griffin his last time out, although he almost got knocked out in the first round. He got dropped real bad. He's really tough. I've noticed later into his career he gets hit a lot more than he used to. He does tend to come on later in the fight at times. If this were a few years ago, I would go with Tim Means all day, no thought about it. But watching the tape back, I've noticed him, not moving his head off the center line a lot. He's definitely a live underdog, though, man. He's well-rounded. He has good submissions. He can push takedowns if he wants to, although, he prefers to be on the feet. But he has a chance, to win this fight. He's taking on Alex Morono. He is 32 years old, 5'11" with a 72-inch reach. He is 22-8 and 11-5 in the UFC. Yeah, so I've really switched my opinion, on Alex. I never thought that much of him until, the last few years. Him destroying Matthew Semmelsberger like he did, and then he was beating the shit out of Santiago Ponzinibbio until he got caught in the third round. And I had money on Ponzinibbio in that spot, so I was really sweating it bad. I couldn't believe that Ponzinibbio came back and got that knockout in the third. And I think Morono took that fight on short notice too, and he looked really good, man. He's got pretty good hands. I've been very impressed. He's very powerful. He pushes a tough pace on guys. He's pretty fast. He's got really good cardio, good head movement most of the time. He'll throw that left hand, that he throws the left hand, then he ducks his head off the center line and comes back over with the right, kind of a herky-jerky type little thing that he does. And, he's kind of like a weird type of striking, how he holds his hands and how he moves them and how he sets traps with his hands. It's actually, pretty cool to watch if you really pick up on what he's doing. He throws out a ton of volume, and I have to go with him in this spot, man. I've seen a lot of people on Tapology talking about taking Means and everything, and he's definitely a live underdog. But I got to go with Morono, man, and I'm going to take him to win by decision. Next up, we got Daniel Rodriguez taking on Ian Gary. Daniel Rodriguez is 36 years old. He is 6'1" with a 74-inch reach. He is 17-3 and 7-2 in the UFC. I'm a fan of Daniels. He's got great boxing and pretty much all around striking is pretty good. Very well rounded. He had a couple of knockout wins in the UFC, so the power's there. He's got a very good left hand. I think that's what he won both those fights with. He struggles with real good grapplers at times, but I expect this fight to play out on the feet. And if that's the case, I would say that Rodriguez has definitely got a shot to win this fight. And at plus 200, it's very tempting, because this is definitely going to be the toughest guy that Ian Gary has had yet. And Ian Gary hasn't really fought anybody that good yet. So he's taking on Ian Gary. He's 25 years old. He is 6'3" with a 74-inch reach, so they got a dead even reach here. He's 11-0 and 4-0 in the UFC. And, Gary's the prospect that everybody is high on right now. I've had and still at times have my doubts, but, he's proven to be a very talented fighter. He has good ring IQ. He's very tall for the weight class. But like I said, the reaches are the same. He throws good straight shots, throws great calf kicks, nice knees in the clinch up against the cage. He counters really well. He'll land good shots as he's backing up, so he can catch guys when they don't expect it. He has a really good straight right hand. It doesn't even look like he puts much on it, and he hurts guys with it all the time. So my worries in this fight, one, like I said, Daniel is way better than anybody Gary has fought so far. Two, Gary got dropped really bad in his last fight. It wasn't a good look. I thought he was done. Who was that he fought? Keon Song caught him with a really good shot, but of course he ended up winning that fight by knockout. And I still can't shake the images of Jordan Williams busting him up in his debut fight. Even though he won that fight by knockout too, he was getting pieced up there at the beginning of that fight. I know the entire world is going with Gary, and I probably should too, but I really want to pick Rodriguez. I like this matchup for Rodriguez. I feel like this is going to play out on the feet. It's not going to be like the Neil Magny fight, with Neil holding him up against the cage and trying to control him in the clinch and get the takedowns. Um, Rodriguez has never been knocked out either, so fuck it. I'm going to take a dog shot on Daniel Rodriguez and pick him in this spot, but hey, I'll probably be wrong, but at least I give it a shot and don't go with all the favorites like everybody else does. Next up, we got Mackenzie Dern taking on Angela Hill. Angela Hill's she might be my favorite female fighter, period. Just because she's cool. Mackenzie Dern is 30 years old. She's 5'4" with a 63-inch reach. She is 12-3 and 7-3 in the UFC. And like the story of Dern is, she doesn't have very good striking. She's got really good submissions. How many wins does she got by submission on her record? Let's check real quick. She's got 7 wins by submission, no knockout wins. So that's over half of her wins, are by decision or by submission. Sorry. Very talented, good takedowns. Good grappler. That's her bread and butter. So, yeah, this is typically not a good match for Hill. Angela Hill's 38 years old, getting up there in age, still looks good. 5'3" with a 64.5-inch reach. She's going to have an 1.5-inch reach advantage in this spot. And her grappling has been looking better. It's been looking a lot better. She's 15-12 and 10-12 in the UFC. And, she's got amazing Muay Thai. She's a really talented striker. She puts a really tough pace on guys. Her last 2 fights, she looked really impressive. She beat up Lupita Godinez, which a lot of people were really high on her. And then Emily Ducati, she beat the crap out of her too. Really good performances. This is one of those matchups that typically Angela Hill, ends up losing. Usually, if you look at her record, some of the, talented grapplers that she's taken on, Verna Janjarova is a talented grappler. She gave up the takedowns in that fight. Amanda Lemos is actually really, really tough, really good fighter. And I thought she won that fight. Dana White thought Angela Hill won that fight as well. It was a close split decision. Tisha Torres, she lost to her. She's fought a lot of really talented people, man. And she beat Loma Lukbumi, who's another really talented Muay Thai fighter. The list goes on and on. She's had a ton of fights, in the UFC. So this is where I'm going to do my classic, thing. I'm going to be picking Dern to get the win. I think she'll be able to get the takedowns and whatnot, but I am going to have a small play on Angela Hill's underdog. Not much, probably just like $50. But I always do that with Angela Hill pretty much, and sometimes it pays off and sometimes it doesn't, but she's my favorite fighter, so I like to put a little something on her, just because I'm rooting for her, man. So I'll pick Dern to get the win, but I'm going to put $50 on Angela Hill with some plus money. And that's worked the last 2 fights she had. She was a underdog in both of those, I believe. Next up, we got the co-main event. Anthony Smith taking on Johnny Walker. Anthony Smith is 34 years old. He's 6'4" with a 76-inch reach. He is 36-17 and 11-7 in the UFC. He's fought at middleweight and light heavyweight. He's very well rounded. He has 18 wins by knockout and 15 wins by submission on his record. He's been that kind of top 10 guy, throughout his career. If we're looking at his record. Let's see. Look at all these guys he's fought. Magomed and Kalaev. He had an unfortunate, leg injury in that fight. I don't remember if it was a broken leg or a broken ankle or something. Before that, he schooled Ryan Spann, made him look like he didn't belong. Jimmy Crute beat him with the leg kicks. He's fought Alexander Ratchik, Glover Teixeira, Alexander Gustafsson, John Jones, Volkan Ozdemir, Rua, Rashad Evans, Thiago Santos, Hector Lombard. And he's fought all kinds of tough guys, man. He's really experienced. Like I said, he's come off the injury a while back. He was supposed to fight Jamal Hill, and then they dropped that fight to give Hill the title fight. And he looked really good in the Ryan Spann fight. Like I said, he hits hard. He's very smart. He has really good game plans. Uses his calf kicks really well. Counters well. He has good scrambles and submissions for a big guy. I could really see this fight going either way. I do think Smith is the more well-rounded of the two. He's taken on Johnny Walker. He is 31 years old, 6'6", with an 82-inch reach. He is 20-7 and 6-4 in the UFC. And Walker's a very exciting guy to watch. This is really a hard pick for me because I like both these guys, a lot. Walker throws all kinds of crazy elbows and spinning attacks, hook kicks, flying knees. He's on a 2-fight winning streak right now. But to be honest, Paul Craig isn't very good as long as you don't stick your head in a triangle. He's a big, tall guy, and he's going to have a 6-inch reach advantage in this fight. And I really still haven't made a decision on this one. I'm kind of torn. I could see Anthony Smith getting the win, and I could see Johnny Walker landing a big shot. So I don't want to flip a coin. That's how close I think it is. I think it's a pick 'em too. So either way, I mean, you're getting a good price on either one of these guys. So it's real strong either way. Let's do tails Walker and heads Smith. So my coin flip says to go with Smith. Man, I kind of want to pick Walker. I know Smith's more well-rounded, but can he get Johnny Walker to the ground? That's the thing is, man. I think I'm going to pick, man. I'm going to take Johnny Walker. Yeah, I'm going to take Johnny Walker. As far as a method of victory, man, I'm going against my coin flip. I could really see it going either way, man. It's a tough pick. I like these guys. I don't know. I just feel like Smith's later into his career, but he still looked pretty good. He didn't look good in the Ankalaev fight. He's a lot more experienced, though. I don't think Johnny Walker is going to be scared of Anthony Smith's power, though, man. Yeah, I'm going to take Walker to win. I'm going to say by decision. I don't know. I know this fight's probably not going to go to decision. No, I shouldn't say that. I'm struggling with this one. If it goes to decision, I imagine Anthony Smith would win. I'm going to take Johnny Walker to win by second round knockout so I can move on. Sorry if I sound tired, man. I've been working on roofs all day today. So now we got the main event. Jairzinho Rozenstruik taking on Jailton Almeida. And Rozenstruik is 35 years old, 6'2", with a 78-inch reach. He is 13-4 and 7-4 in the UFC. Looking at his record, he's a talented kickboxer, man. I believe he had a kickboxing background before coming to the UFC. He had a lot of kickboxing matches. Had some losses, some wins. Since he's been in the UFC, he's fought Junior Albini, Alan Crowder, Andre Arlovsky, Alistair Overeem. Lost to Francis Ngannou. He's beat Junior Dos Santos, lost to Cyril Gane, lost to Curtis Blades, lost to Alexander Volkov. A lot of people didn't agree with that stoppage, but he knocked out Chris Daukaus in his last fight, but Chris Daukaus has been knocked out in all of his last 3 or 4 fights, so they just haven't done Chris any favors, man. He's had tough matches. He came in, got a couple of knockout wins, and they just threw him to the wolves, man. So I feel bad for Chris because I was a big fan of his. And I don't even know if he's still in the UFC. I thought I heard a rumor that he was going to be coming back at light heavyweight, which is where he belonged. He was a small heavyweight. But yeah, Jairzinho's a tough guy. He's got big power. Pretty good striking. At times, he just doesn't put out a lot of volume, man. He kind of just disappointed if you have money on him and he goes out there and throws 20 strikes the whole fight, man. Just looking for that big shot. Uh, so yeah, it is what it is, man. He's taking on Jalton Almeida. He's 31 years old. He's 6'3" with a 79-inch reach. He's going to have an inch reach advantage. He's 18-2 and 4-0 in the UFC, and he comes in at like 232 pounds. He's a small heavyweight himself. Um, but he's the guy, man. Bet the house on him. Bet whatever you can on Jalton Almeida. I had to end up parlaying him with somebody else to get a little bit of better value on it. I think he's like a minus 600 right now or a minus 550. But yeah, he's really good, man. He's a very talented grappler. He's got good striking. He's very powerful, very fast, very explosive. He has good cardio. He's the real deal, man, all the way around. He's got a very good chance at being a heavyweight champion one day, man. And he's ran right through all these guys that he fought, like they were nothing. Danilo Marquez, Parker Porter. That's not a really, that was, I guess his debut was at light heavyweight, and then he went up to heavyweight, and he beat Parker Porter. He beat Anton Turkalji, however you say his name, and Shamil Agradimov. I mean, not the best at competition, but I don't think he's going to have any trouble here. I think he's a very talented grappler, man. He's going to be able to get the takedowns. He has really good jiu-jitsu. I see him getting this fight to the ground and winning by submission or TKO by ground and pound. But I think Rozenstruik will get desperate. He's not used to being thrown around like that, not used to be taken down. I think he'll probably get desperate and give up his back, and Almeida will end up sinking in a rear naked choke or something to that extent. So I'm going to take Almeida to get the win by, it's a 5-round fight. So I'm going to say a second round rear naked choke. And yeah, that's all my picks for the card. So also wanted to tell y'all I'm adding a small play to my UFC 288 card. I'm doing a small play on Braxton Smith against Parker Porter. Got him at plus 150. It's just like a small, like $100 bet, just a little something. But I think he has a really good shot at winning that fight. If you really want to look into it and check that guy out, he's a very tough guy. So I think he has a chance there. And as far as my bets on this card, man, right now, keeping it pretty simple. A little disappointed that I couldn't get a lot of value on my more confident picks for the card. So I've got two man parlays right now. I'm sure I'll have some prop bets later on. The props aren't out yet on this card. But I got an Oldberg and Almeida parlay. I caught it pretty early on. They're at a way better value than what they are now. That's a minus 125, and it's a 2-unit play on that. And then I have a Williams and Morono parlay, and it's minus 115. That's a 1-unit play. I might have some more stuff going on later on the week. I don't know. I've been kind of dragging. A little just disappointed I couldn't get better lines on these fights that I feel like are locks on this card. I'm debating on putting just a small underdog play together, like with D'Andrade and Rodriguez. Just putting a little bit on it because I think those two together are like a plus 500 something. So that'd be a pretty good line. And of course, I'll have my other bigger parlays. Constantly throwing money away on because they never hit, but I still do it anyway. I'm trying to get that Hail Mary, Yeah, guys. So I think that's all I got, man. Sorry, I sound a little tired. Sorry this video's getting out a little bit later than usual. And if you guys haven't gone and seen Evil Dead Rise yet, go see that movie. It's one of the best movies that I've seen in a long time. Definitely the best horror movie I've seen in a long time. It's definitely worth going to catch in the theater. Not getting paid for that either. Just trying to spread the good movie. Yeah, man. I guess that's it for me, man. Please like and subscribe. Don't forget to go over and participate in the contest, man. Pick 3 winners. The method of victory and which round they win in. You only get one decision, and you could possibly win an autographed Donald Cerrone or Demetrius Johnson or Holly Holm or a UFC glove signed by Killer Miller. And I'm only doing it on my UFC 288 videos, so I'm going to try and just do this stuff like that on the pay-per-views. So, But yeah, man, that's it. I appreciate it, guys. Please like and subscribe. I'm getting close to 200 subscribers, so it's a big deal for me. I've only been doing this for like 6 months, so thanks for watching, man. I appreciate it. Y'all have a good one, man. I'm out of here.